All right, so you're making a move to the Calgary area, but you don't want to be in the big city itself. Well, today we're going to compare two of the best outskirt options, what each could mean for your lifestyle, and some of the pros and cons to both places. And the two towns we're comparing today are Airdrie and Cochrane. And as you may know, Airdrie is my home, but I'll try to keep this video as unbiased as possible to give you the best information possible to make your own personal decision. Now we're going to go through everything from location, demographics, amenities, housing, and just the overall feel of each town. And at the end of the day, no matter which town you decide on, I am a licensed realtor for all of the Calgary area, so I'd be happy to help find a home no matter where you end up deciding on. Now, if you could do me one huge favor before we get started though, and just scroll down a bit, hit that like button. It honestly helps out the channel massively, and I'd really appreciate it if you could do that. Alrighty, now that you've got that done, let's get into Airdrie versus Cochrane. So first off, let's get a look at the map and get a feel of where these two towns are in relation to Calgary. So as you can see, Airdrie is directly north of the big city on Highway 2, while Cochrane is more on the northwest corner of Calgary. And in relation to the city, Airdrie is closer, being only about 7 to 8 minutes edge to edge, compared to Cochrane that's more like 13 to 14 minutes from the edge of town to the edge of Calgary. But relation to Calgary is only one factor on location. Looking at Cochrane now, a big pro to the location of Cochrane is how close you are to the Rocky Mountains. Depending on where you are in Cochrane, you could be just 45 minutes from the Nakiska Ski Resort or just 1 hour from Banff. And that's compared to Airdrie, where you're going to be more like an hour and a half from Banff and about an hour 15 from that same ski resort. So Cochrane, you're going to be about a half hour closer to those Rocky Mountains. Now on the flip side, the big pro for Airdrie when it comes to location is being right on that number 2 highway. Airdrie's split right down the middle with that major highway, so whether you're going south down to Calgary or north up to Edmonton, it makes the trip that much quicker to get to where you're going. And also keep in mind, Calgary International Airport is in the northeast of Calgary, so if being reasonably close to the airport is important for you, then Airdrie's got a big plus in that way. Now Cochrane, on the other hand, is not on as major of a highway route, so if you're not headed to the Rocky Mountains, it might take you a bit longer to get to where you're going. Alright, well that covers the location of both cities. Now let's move on to some demographics of each area. Now first off, looking at the population, Cochrane's right around 35,000 people right now, and Airdrie is now just over 80,000 people. So depending on who you are, this could be a deciding factor for you right here. If you prefer a smaller population or a larger population, this could become an easy choice. Now, being the more populated city, I would have figured that Airdrie would have had more population density, but it's actually not the case. Cochrane has about 1,020 people per square kilometer, while Airdrie is more like 880 people per square kilometer. I really wasn't expecting this because honestly, inside the two towns, Airdrie feels like it has more population density. It feels busier than Cochrane does, but according to the stats, looks like it doesn't. Now as for the average age, Cochrane has an average age of 39 years old, and they have 21% of the population being 14 years old or younger. Now Airdrie's average age is 34, so 5 years less than Cochrane is, and here the under 14 crowd makes up 25% of the population. So in general, Airdrie's population is younger than Cochrane's, and there's a lot more kids. Now this is a factor that could definitely make you lean one way more than the other, depending on where you're at and who you are. And now moving on to amenities for both areas. In general, both cities have all the basic day-to-day needs that you want in your city. Big and small grocery stores and other big stores like Canadian Tire, Walmart, and things like that. Now Cochrane does lack a large home improvement department store like Home Depot or Lowe's. There's a Home Hardware, but those typically don't have quite as much selection as their bigger counterparts. So you'll be going to the big city for those type of stores. But all in all, your day-to-day needs are covered pretty good by both cities. And as for restaurants, both areas have quite a few chain and local restaurant options, but you're gonna find a lot more variety of options in Airdrie with a lot of different styles of food as well, just because there's so many more people in the city. And to further the shopping amenities in Airdrie, we have one of the biggest malls in the country, Cross Iron Mills Mall, just a few minutes outside of Airdrie, between Airdrie and Calgary. And there you're also going to find a Costco as well. But if you live in Cochrane, then the closest mall and Costco will both be in Calgary, and they're going to be about 20 to 25 minutes away. But shopping and eating aren't the only amenities that we want to look at when we're looking at both towns, so let's take a look at the recreation and other public facilities as well. For the classic rec center with things like swimming, gymnasiums, sports fields, fitness centers, things like that, both cities have rec centers of course, but Cochrane definitely wins on this one. They just had a huge $45 million expansion of their rec center that was completed in 2017, which gave them an incredible facility for the town of Cochrane. Now remember, Airdrie is about 2.5 times the population of Cochrane, but still only has one rec center. So although it is a nice facility, it's definitely become more and more busy over the years. Now to put this in perspective, Cochrane's facility is 325,000 square feet, servicing 35,000 people, and Airdrie's is 450,000 square feet, serving over 80,000 people. So Airdrie's facility is 38% bigger, but it serves 128% more people. So more recreation space is much overdue for Airdrie, but the good news is we do have a rec center starting construction next year in the southwest corner of Airdrie. So I'm looking forward to seeing the plans for that early next year. And both cities of course have public libraries as well, but another amenity that Airdrie has in the works is a brand new 73,000 square foot multi-use library building, which is currently under construction and coming along really nicely. Now for your outdoor amenities, we already mentioned how much closer you are in Cochrane to the mountains, so of course you're that much closer to hiking, skiing, fishing, and all the other mountain activities that you want to do. But what about right inside the towns? And starting with Airdrie first, there is a good amount of environmental reserve and park space in Airdrie, which is great considering the amount of families in the city. And a lot of the newer communities do put a big emphasis on creating walking paths throughout those neighborhoods as well. So I'd say the pro for Airdrie is the amount of dedicated outdoor activities such as playgrounds, outdoor ice rinks, pickleball courts, ball diamonds, and walking paths, which we have quite a lot of. But the biggest con for Airdrie for outdoor amenities is we don't have a proper river running through town. We do have Nose Creek that runs through Airdrie, which you can fish in and stuff like that, but you aren't able to swim in it. So for me, that is the biggest lack in Airdrie, is any real good swimmable water nearby. Now as for Cochrane, there's also plenty of outdoor play areas such as playgrounds and things like that, but a huge pro for Cochrane here is the Bow River running right through the middle of town. So this means there's tons of pathways in the trees and lots of opportunities for fishing or swimming out there in the summertime. So even though Airdrie is the younger community with more families and kids, I know a lot of families choose Cochrane due to the river going right through the town and the lifestyle that provides them. Alright, now into the housing in each town, which is the topic that I'm most qualified to talk about, being a local realtor here in the area. We're going to break down both cities by housing style, what you're going to be able to find, and what the prices are. So starting with the apartments, the benchmark price for an apartment in Cochrane is $278,900. Compare this to the benchmark price in Airdrie of $265,000. So Airdrie is a bit better price for condos. In terms of how available apartments are, it's about the same in both areas. In Cochrane, condos make up about 9% of the total residential homes, and in Airdrie they make up about 10% of housing in the city. And most of the condos in both areas are going to be that 3 to 4 story style buildings, and a lot of them are going to have underground parking as well. And moving on to row homes or townhomes, the benchmark price for these in Cochrane is $416,000 as compared to Airdrie at $354,000. So again, Cochrane is more expensive for the row homes as well, and by quite a lot. 416 versus 354. That's a big difference between the two towns. And now looking at semi-detached homes or those duplexes, the benchmark price is $476,300 in Cochrane and $476,000 even for Airdrie. Now this one I thought was really interesting. Row homes have such a huge gap, but the semi-detached are dead even on their benchmark price. Now I thought maybe the benchmark price algorithm was using a different semi-detached home stats for each town for this one, but when I looked into the benchmark price properties for both Cochrane and Airdrie, they were exactly the same. So semi-detached homes, basically even in both towns. Which brings us last but not least to the detached homes, and this is by far the majority of homes in both areas, making up for 61% of Airdrie residential and 55% of Cochrane residential. The detached benchmark price in Cochrane is $636,400, and in Airdrie it's $610,400. So prices to buy a home definitely leans more towards Airdrie if we're looking at value, so rentals in Cochrane are probably more expensive as well, right? Well, actually no. We don't have great data in Alberta around the actual rented prices of homes, but a quick search of available inventory will show that rental prices in Cochrane are actually slightly cheaper than in Airdrie by a couple $100 or so, it seems, per unit. So if you're looking to rent when you move, then you might find a better price in Cochrane, but being a smaller town, there will be less options available for those rentals. Now looking at this from an investment standpoint, in Airdrie you have lower home prices and higher rents. So if you're looking to invest for some cash flow, Airdrie is definitely the much better option compared to Cochrane. Now, as far as what you'll find for homes in both areas, it's going to be really similar. You're going to find the older areas with the older homes, and you'll find plenty of new areas in both towns as well, in all different styles and price ranges. So if you'd like to discuss further what you can get within your budget, reach out and we can have a chat about it. Alright, so we've discussed the location, amenities, demographics, and housing of Airdrie and Cochrane. Now we're just going to talk about the overall feel of each community, and this is going to be less fact-based and more just my opinion of what the feel is like in each town. Now Airdrie, I find, is a fairly busy little city with a lot of people always going here and there, and it definitely has a small city feel to it and not so much a small town feel. Unless you're coming from a big city, then it might feel more like a small town to you, but for me, it definitely has that city vibe in it, but a small city vibe, if that makes sense. But in the residential areas, you're bound to see plenty of kids out playing due to just the large number of young families we have in the city. Now overall, Airdrie has and will continue to be a great place for families to live due to all the amenities we have currently and have planned for the future. And it's great for anyone that wants to be close to Calgary and the Calgary airport without being right in the big city. And now looking at Cochrane, the feel here is definitely that of a smaller town and kind of like a mountain town vibes in some places. Now the town is placed in and around a river valley, so there is a lot of elevation changes that help make the town feel more spread out and give it that slower pace. This town is a great option for someone who's looking for that smaller town feel while still having the amenities that you need and not too far from the bigger city of Calgary. And of course, if you prefer to be closer to nature, then having the Bow River running right through Cochrane and only being a half an hour from the mountains will be a major pro for you when you're looking at Cochrane. And there's also some incredible mountain views from some of the houses in town as well. Alright, well after all that, let me know in the comments if you already live in one of these areas or if you're considering a move, which town do you prefer? I'm interested to see which seems more popular amongst those of you watching this video, so go ahead and comment and I'm looking forward to seeing what you have to say. Now as always, if you have any questions or if you're considering a move within Cochrane or Airdrie, reach out and I'd be more than happy to chat and make a plan with you. And again, my name is Brad Walker, your local Airdrie and area realtor, and we'll see you in the next video.